So we're going to do a little training update for Miss Rarely Wrong. And today's job is the exercise releasing pent-up energy. So what we've been working on, because she was so explosive when we started, we did a lot of this mental focus, in motion, walking backwards, keeping her mind focused on me. So we reduced the tendency to blow up. We've worked a lot on halt. We've even done some grooming without being tied. So halt in the wash rack, halt out here. And so today we're going to kind of put things to the test a little bit. And I'm just going to send her out and around me and see if she can, and she can go either way. I'm just going to ask her to move away from me until she moves forward. So I have still the rope halter in case I need to kind of regain some control. But I have a much longer lunge line and much lighter. So that's less leverage than a heavier long rope or the heavy long lead rope that I was using before. So I call this exercise releasing pent-up energy because it's not really lunging. It's really just sort of, I don't have a round pen. I want her to get comfortable in this area where we're going to be doing all of our ridden work and lots of our groundwork. And so I want to see now, even if she goes to trot or has a canter, that she can start to bring herself back down, right? That she doesn't get lost out there and start to escalate that flight defensive response. We're going to see distraction. She may, choose to trot or even canter, but I'm just going to be here as the central point and let her do her thing, right? So there's nothing that she can do wrong in this exercise. If she turns her head away like that, I'm just putting a tiny bit of tension on the lunge line so that she can't turn away from me. But if I don't care if she turns towards me and changes direction. She can change direction. She can cut in. She can go out. She can walk, trot, canter, halt, face me, not face me, ignore me. There's basically nothing she can do wrong other than maybe pull the rope out of my hand. But I've already closed the gate just in case that happens. So I'm in a safely enclosed area. In the worst case scenario, she pulls the lunge line out of my hand and gets loose. She'll have a big runaround, but she can't go anywhere that's unsafe to her. So this is actually really good. The last video I did sort of attempting this exercise of releasing pent-up energy. I did on a heavier, shorter line. And within just even the first lap or so, she busted into trot and the energy started really escalating quickly. So you can see she's a little anxious, a little distracted, moving away from me. All of those are signs of the flight defensive response. So it tells me she's maybe not as afraid as she was before, but she's still a little uncertain. She's still a tiny bit defensive. And that fear energy can really jack up the energy of the body. It's a physiological response, body and mind. When horses feel unsure or uncertain, you're going to get a whole lot of energy. And sometimes just to work on all the different skills of basic handling or to start getting into the groundwork that's going to help her improve her balance and feel more comfortable, she first has to feel safe, right? And where I've given her a ton of guidance in the month that she's been here, working on halt, giving her a strong mental focus, even getting through the grooming, the picking up the feet, the coming in and out, leading for daily turnout and bringing in, all of that has now accumulated to the point that I think she can manage herself a little bit better. Less reactive, less dramatic, less fearful. So we're going to spend more time now going forward. It looks like lunging, but it's not lunging. I don't even have a whip. It's like, if she halts, that would for her actually be a great thing, that even if I had a whip, I certainly wouldn't correct very quickly, because for this horse to choose halt is a complete counterbalance to her defensive pattern, right? If I had a horse that was defensive in the fight response, okay, I might have a whip and I might ask them to move. In her case, all I got to do is stand here and wait for her to choose halt, right? And what we're going to do is just sort of look at this first session of really letting her find her way. This exercise is allowing the discovery. She has to find her own way into feeling safe with very little guidance from me. And it's kind of a test for her to see if she can do it today without blowing up, without bolting, bucking, rearing, pulling the rope out of my hand. And the rope is on here, the lunge line. In case she really loses her mind, I can always reel her in a bit, slow her down, and go back to that mental focus exercise that was working for her before. But I want to see, it's very important that she can find her own sense of safety, that it's not always dependent on me, that she can take in her environment, that she can be away from the other horses, and just with me here, she can feel safe enough that we could start working on more physical changes of coordination or more skills that we need to be safe and quiet just in domestic life, like trailer loading, cross tying, getting better with the farrier, getting better with the vet, that kind of thing, right? So reducing anxiety for this horse is my primary concern. This is the whole first layer of her training. And like I said, we've been working on it with a lot of guidance for about a month. And this is pretty good. Just the fact that she's maintaining a walk is huge for her, right? And if she could walk and get good and sweaty and stay in the walk, that's just going to help her work through all of these sort of fear emotions and the hormones related to fear that are kind of pumping the stress hormones through her body right now. And I want her to learn how to get herself, right? She needs movement. That's part of the flight defensive pattern. So I'm just allowing her to choose the movement to see if she can release a little bit of this emotional energy and find halt, maybe find or choose a connection to me, right? So there where she looks like she wants to turn away, I'm just putting a tiny bit more tension in the line, but I have a nice long lunge line. So I just gather it up when she cuts in close, let it out when she pulls away. Turning direction away from me is a little tricky, but changing direction by turning towards me would be perfectly fine. I'm not going to insist on a speed or a direction. So if she does break into trot, she's going to have to find her own way back to the walk. Same with the canter, to trot, to walk. If she gets really lost and it starts looking unsafe, the line is on her in case I need to kind of reel her in and get her focused again in order to help her feel safe and calm down. If it doesn't look unsafe to her or me, let it rip. She can do whatever she wants. Excuse me. So I'm just observing, and she's already kind of less dramatic than where we were 5 minutes ago. She's sort of testing out that turn away from me. So there I just held on to the end of the lunge line so that she couldn't quite get all the way turned away from me, but a pretty gentle correction. And then I just gather up the lunge line and let it filter out through my fingers so that the line that's between my hand and her head is never low enough that she could get a leg over it or step on it. I just want it off the ground, just in case. Yep. But I'm just here as a safety net for this exercise. If things really go sideways, I can help her stop and regroup. But otherwise, the point of this exercise that I call just releasing pent-up energy, excuse me, is completely a process of her discovering a little bit more control over herself. And she'll either be able to do it, so far so good, or she won't, and I'll step in. And if she won't, we'll come back to this exercise later. If she does, but she doesn't quite become dominant in the parasympathetic nervous system, or what we call gaining the learning frame of mind, that's a very nice change. That's the beginning, a little moment in the learning frame of mind. The posture, the energy, the mental focus, all of it comes together all at once, but it doesn't last very long. But those were just the first few strides of her showing me she can find her way there. She doesn't need guidance all the time. She can do it. Yeah? And this is how it goes in the cycles of development. It's not a linear path. It's a cycle that's more like a slinky where she comes and goes. And so the progress I'm looking for, even in this first session, is that maybe I start to get more moments of her coming out of the sympathetic nervous system and feeling safe enough to let the parasympathetic nervous system dominate. And I know when the parasympathetic nervous system is becoming more dominant in the body, because the energy will be calm. Her ears will show me that her mind is either half out ears, mean kind of an internal assessment, or the inside ear on me means she knows I'm here, she's paying attention, or like that, the ears prick away completely. Elvis has left the building, right? She's no longer with me at all in that moment. Tiny little resistance on the halter, but not much. Now she sees something else that's triggering a little bit more anxiety. Don't know, don't care. But it's doing it to her, right? So I'm watching her and not looking at whatever she's looking at, because that is not my problem. Right? So we see the fluctuation of anxiety coming up, anxiety going down, energy coming up, energy going down. Attention either internal on herself or on me, and not, right? The attention back on the horses, which are her source of safety, right? She, of course, would love to go back to the barn, back to the other horses, what we call barn sour or buddy sour, because that's where she feels safe. So if I don't spend time with her and help her arrive at a place of feeling safe with me, I never become as safe as the barn or as safe as her other herd members. But that's the point of this exercise. I would love for her to choose calmness. I would love for her to choose to mentally focus on me. And I would love for her to just lengthen her neck, slow down her walk, or maybe even find halt and relax into feeling safe on the inside, right? This energy, this posture, where her ears are going, where her head is pointing, all of that just tells me she doesn't feel safe yet on the inside, which is fine. She feels safe enough that she's not galloping around, blowing it out, trying to attack me, trying to rear, buck, bolt, whatever. Those are just more extreme versions, right, of defensive behavior. This is what I would call, now that we've spent a month sort of working on the learning frame of mind with a lot of support at halt and a slow walk, it's taken hold just enough that she's now exhibiting what I would consider a more mild version, maybe bouncing into moderate one now and again, but mostly a pretty mild version of the flight defensiveness, which puts the fear level down quite a bit from extreme to extreme fear and reactiveness to maybe something more along the lines of not too sure, kind of uncertain, not too sure about this deal, but it might be okay, it might not be okay. So what I'm waiting for her to do is spend that emotional energy, right? Focus on me, hopefully, until this sort of not too sure feeling transitions into I feel safe. Like I said, we'll just sort of watch her today for about 30 minutes. I brought her out. This is the beginning of the session, right? So we'll just do 30 minutes, maybe 35 or 40. We'll kind of see how she does. And I'm just the observer. I'm here in case you need me, but today is all about you, pumpkin. And we'll see what she does with it. Right, so again, the farther away she goes, as I run out of line, I'm going to close my hands. But if I'm not running out of line, I'm just feeding it out on the side she wants to kind of pull away and gathering it up on the side she wants to kind of cut in. No big deal. Right, so she only gets, like, even there where she turns the head away, she's only getting a pretty light resistance as I filter the line through my fingers, gently closing them as I get closer to the end of my lunge line, but trying not to make a hard stop, trying not to increase the pressure on the halter to make the decision for her. I would rather give a very light resistance and see that she changes her mind. There's my hard stop. Yeah. And she responded to that pretty well. She didn't try to push through it. She didn't try to continue with that right turn that she had in her mind. She just said, oh, okay, I guess that's the edge, and came back around. Right? But that looking to the outside on that side of the circle is because that's where her buddies live. Right? That's where she can see the other horses, which are really the greatest source of her security right now. I haven't quite gained that place in her head yet. I haven't earned my position with this mare yet to be, in her mind, a trusted member of her herd. I'm a herd member because I can catch her. She's not trying to kill me. She's not trying to get away from me. So I'm in the herd. But I'm not to the level of board of directors in a herd. Right? So a herd of horses, there's never just one leader. There's a board of directors that is sort of formed from trusted herd members. So just being in the herd, she tolerates me. She accepts me as part of the herd, but doesn't trust me to keep her safe as much as she trusts the other horses will keep her safe. So this sort of looking out to the other horses is her just telling me that in no uncertain terms. I'd rather be there than with you. Thank you very much. And it's just the hard truth. I'm not taking it personally. It's just where she's at right now. And if I overcorrect her, if I increase the defensiveness, trying to get her to trust me or like me, it's going to backfire. She has to arrive at that decision on her own. So all I can do at this point is be here, be with her, and be ready in case she does something silly where she would hurt herself or hurt me. I'm going to have to step in. But if I don't have to step in, it's kind of a waiting game because I can't change her mind. Right? A horse that's forced against their will is of the same opinion still. or you could even say trying to convince a horse to do something against their will, is of the same opinion still. The only way to earn the trusted herd member board of directors position in her mind is she's got to test me, and I've got to prove over and over until she's done with the testing and proving that I'm calm enough to be a leader, that I'm emotionally stable enough to be a leader, and that I understand the communication of energy, body language, personal space, and movement, and that that proves to her I'm capable of not only keeping myself safe, but keeping her safe. So if I react to her instinctually, if I meet her anxiety, right, or if I don't know, become emotionally unstable. The way we know we're emotionally unstable is because it feels bad. So I feel good, calm, I'm focused on her. I'm not upset with any decision she makes. So I'm sort of a lighthouse for her at this moment, just a beacon of what I want from her, but I'm not helping her get there. I want to see if she can figure out her own way into the same calm energy, the same mental focus on each other, her on me, like me on her. And if her energy level if her posture, if she can lengthen the neck and start to adopt more of a grazing posture, right on cue, sort of like that. Yep. Then that tells me, through her body language, her energy, and her behavior, that she's starting to feel safe with me here today inside. That she feels safe on the inside. And that's not something I can force, but it's something I can work on with her. Right? So I can sort of shut down any wildly unsafe behavior, but I can't make her feel safe. She's got to feel safe on the inside. And if I just happen to be here when she starts feeling safe, you kind of get the credit for it. And that's how we as humans not only move from herd member, but into trusted herd member. So every time she starts to show me that she feels safe on the inside and we're together, that's her voting me on to the board of directors in her mind. That I'm qualified, like the other horses that she's so attached to, I'm qualified to keep her safe. So when I ask to be the leader, if it's my turn to be the leader, she'll listen. And when it's her turn to be the leader, I'll listen. And that's kind of how the whole leadership, it's not dominance and submission with a king at the top and every peasant underneath him. It's more like a cohesive board where everybody takes their role depending on the situation. But you have to get that earned position of trust before your opinion matters to anybody else in the herd. Otherwise, as a herd member, you're tolerated, but not necessarily listened to or cooperated with because the trust isn't there. Right? So spending pent-up energy, even standing here doing nothing but being with her, with very minimal aids or guidance, as long as she's safely releasing her pent-up energy, nothing I need to do. But just being here is part of being the herd. It's being part of the herd, just spending time. And I don't know how far we'll get in this first session. She's kind of hovering at not really finding the learning frame of mind, not really reducing the energy towards calmness. It's kind of just staying at this static level where she's still defensive, but she seems quite comfortable there. So today's experiment is just to see if releasing pent-up energy helps her find or trigger her own parasympathetic nervous system or not. She's certainly safe enough, and she's maintained the walk, much to my surprise, this whole session. So she's getting there. It's not where I want it yet, but the fact that she's remaining safe and remaining in the walk while she's releasing this energy means this exercise goes on her menu. This would be a useful thing to start working on more often and let her play with this a little bit more. So I'll still use the guided mental focus exercise when I need to, but we're going to start transitioning into more and more her finding her own calmness, her finding her way into focusing on me and asking me, what would you like to do? So far, I have not had that question from her. So we're about 20 minutes into it. And she's just sort of not really calming down, not really escalating up. So I'm just going to let her keep walking and walking and walking. If she trotted or cantered at this point, I think it would be very safe to let her do so. She might spend a little more energy if she went faster, but I don't think she would lose control like she would a month ago. So for her, this is big progress. And I'm running out of things to say. So we'll just give it maybe 5 more minutes. And even if she ends exactly on this note, we don't always have to end a training session with perfection, because one good day and one bad day is not going to make or break the training overall. It's always a bit of a process. So we'll see what we get with 35, 40 minutes today, because she's just starting to come down. And now maybe the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, she'll get more solid. And it would be good to show the process of how this works, because change always comes in cycles. She had one momentary moment in the first 20 minutes of what I was looking for. So out of the first 20 minutes, 99% of it was just not what I was looking for, but she was spending energy. So now as we get down to maybe the last 10 of 40 minutes, I've already had 2 sort of attempts at her focusing on me, calming down the energy a little bit, and even lengthening the neck. Like right there, she kind of likes that spot. Yeah. If she chooses halt, we'll be done, because that would be a big, important choice for this horse. Whether she focuses on me a lot or a little, as long as she's somewhat in the ballpark, if she chooses halt, I would kind of end right there, because it's a pretty big deal for her. But she may just gradually, little by little, start to change that percentage of time spent feeling defensive, a little bit fearful, and time spent feeling calm and safe. Right? And you can see she goes up and down, or you could think of it as back and forth or up and down with the energy. And overall, it's better even than where we started today. Tiny bit slower walk. More often she's checking in. She's still doing her thing. She's repeating her pattern. And the pattern repetition is normal. I go, knock yourself out. I'm looking for you to make a different choice. Right? But you have to choose it. You have to choose me as a trusted member of your herd. And there's no way I can make you do that. but I can spend a lot of time with you, and I can do things or offer guidance that moves you the direction of feeling safer with me. Watch out for that tree. Yep. Very good. So that little pause at halt, even though she wasn't focused on me, so another sign that she's beginning to think she might feel safe. And she can keep making the same choices. Now there's a change. That's a huge change. She looked my direction in the very spot where she was looking away the most, and she halted instead of needing to move. That moment there tells me this is a very workable exercise for this mare, and it's going to help. Even if we have to repeat this a little bit, or maybe it's our main focus for the next week or two of training, the fact that she offered that tells me she's starting to change inside. She's starting to change how she feels and what she thinks about the two of us as herd members in our little herd of two when we're away from the other horses. So that was very temporary, but that's exactly all we get, is a sneaky peek of where we're going, especially in the first session. Nobody, horse or person, miraculously changes a habit overnight. It's a process. The old habit, there's the old habit. Watch out for that tree. There we go. And I just kind of let that lunge line out and try not to tug on the halter if I don't have to. Right? This is her feeling responsible for herself. And if we think about self-carriage, it kind of starts with, the ability to maintain a mental focus and an equilibrium emotionally as a significant part of self-carriage. If I always have to guide her attention and I always have to manage anxiety, there's no way I'm going to get the physical self-carriage at all, because she can't mentally and emotionally manage herself. Right? But you can see the process. There's been some really great moments. Now we're at like 35 minutes. There's been some really great moments, but most of it is her needing to let this energy out. And at least she's letting it out at the walk in a very safe way. But it's maybe going to take some time to let that. She's a pretty intense mare, and she's rarely wrong. Right? So it may take some time with this exercise for her to increase the percentage of time spent in the learning frame of mind connected to me versus time spent feeling a little fearful or defensive. She's easily triggered, she's very sensitive, she's very athletic, she's got a lot of energy, right? So that means this part of our training could take some time. But without that emotional, mental self-carriage, it's going to be a big battle to try to guide her physically into any improvements in her coordination or try to get better movement under saddle, even in groundwork. I need her on board. I need her connecting to me because she wants to, not because she has to. So if I had a round pen or a small paddock or safely enclosed area where I could take off the halter and the lunge line, that's another way to do this same exercise. You can put them in a round pen and there's nothing they can do wrong. You just wait for them to choose you, wait for halt. But if I take off the halter and lunge line, then I really have to wait for it, right? Today, knowing that This might take several sessions of this same exercise to really get a breakthrough. The lunge line allows me, oh, there's a nice another change. Maybe a happy accident, maybe on purpose. But the lunge line and halter sort of allow me to end the session when I need to, even if she hasn't chosen what I would hope she would choose before I run out of time. I think I have that line about right now where she's not going to run into the tree before I have to give a little tug on the halter. Well, hello. Yeah, we're down to the last minute, literally, of 40 minutes. And she chose to stop and semi-look in my direction. Oh, even more in my direction. Probably won't last long, but pretty darn good. So we're going to end there.